Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Roseanne Barr podcast. Boy, am I excited today. I'm having trouble stifling myself with joy and anticipation and excitement that I feel when I meet women who get it.
Oh, you see, my patience is growing thin.
It's cool when you meet somebody that you totally connect with, a woman that really gets it about what's important and has ideas about how we can get there together. Past all the bullshit that's been shoved down our throat 24/7 by the media, and someone who can intellectually discuss the power of the media, not only in the daily lives, but in fact to influence a national election. And that's very, very important. I always talk about mind control in the media. And, you know, I have someone that really was there, is there, and like kind of went from behind the curtain to the front of the curtain. Has a peculiar and very interesting perspective on all of that. And so I'm very excited to have her. Now, both of us we can get ourselves into trouble at times.
Me?
So we have to be mindful of that. So we have decided, or I decided, I told my son, Jake, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Thank you for
Jake.
joining us again.
I said, well, we're going to start with a prayer. So I, to guard our, to help ask,
Can you introduce Kari real quick?
I am going to
She's
do
getting
that.
to it.
I'm just going to get to the prayer to say, it's very important when two people are together of the same mind and saying a prayer together.
I agree.
And my prayer partner today is my exciting and enchanting and only drop dead gorgeous and thin
Wow. That's
Governor of Arizona, Kari Lake. Welcome her,
nice.
please.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so excited. I mean, I could barely contain my excitement coming over today. I'm
It's
sitting
so
with
nice
a
to
legend,
meet you.
and
I am too.
I feel the same way about you. And I always do start every day with a prayer, but you've seen some of my interviews. I start every interview. Nobody probably realizes this, but I just say, God, use my voice, use my words, use everything you've given me, and speak through me. So even those times when I'm snapping back
too.
at the media, I have prayed beforehand. So I really think that God was kind of okay with that.
I say those same words, and I say, please guard my tongue, that everything I say will come from my heart and be full of love. Even when I'm smacking an SOB upside the head with my words. And that was like really, that's what I say, because it's like so karmic that you would speak truth to power in a kind way. I think it's much more powerful than screaming and burning crap down,
I guess I do have a little bit of that ability. I didn't realize it. I talk about it in my book when I first jumped in. I worked 30 years behind the scene, well, in front of the camera, but I worked 30 years in the news. I guess it's called the fake news. I didn't think of it that way when I was in it until...
Did you write your own stories, or were they given to you?
I wrote a lot of it. I mean, I'm a writer and a
Yeah.
journalist. I love being a journalist. I went to the University of Iowa. And
that was the best journalism school.
I don't know about that.
Well, it's one of them.
I think back in the 90s, any
that's what I'm talking
journalism
about.
school was better because you were actually learning journalism. You ask the stories or you ask the questions, you keep your opinion out of it, you tell both sides of the story. Sometimes there's three sides, and you don't put your opinion in, but somewhere along the way.
Didn't objective go to subjective? Didn't that change a tense? Something
Somewhere.
like that happened.
Some people will say, Kari, the media was always leaning to the left. And they're right. It really did have a left bent to it. But I always felt that I could keep what came out of my mouth fair. Unfortunately, during COVID, during the Trump years, I really saw the media, as they say, the shells. What is that phrase I used to use all the time? They really cracked the shells off the nuts. President Trump cracked the shells off the nuts, and you were all of a sudden you revealed all the nuts in the newsroom, and they just lost their mind. So, but I have always been in front of the camera. You know, when I became a news anchor, 2 and 3 hours a day in front of the camera, and you're not typically losing your cool when you're in front of the camera. So I think I learned that skill. And when I ran for office, I remember I was so disillusioned with the media because I'd worked in it. I just hated the direction it had gone, putting out half-truths, flat out lies.
No fact checking.
Well, fact checking by biased leftists.
Like I notice on Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it, and I always am tweeting Elon Musk now with one of my fake accounts. But
I wish I knew what that was.
Oh, we'll send it to you.
Okay.
But I'm like, dear Elon, I only ask important people. I troll them, I guess you'd say. So, dear Elon Musk, whatever your name is, I go, I haven't once seen any fact checker point out any disinformation coming from the Democratic Party.
Right.
Well, I haven't seen it once.
Because fact checkers are a biased bunch, and on the right, conservative, I call it pro-America, we love the Constitution, so we wouldn't think of saying, we're going to fact check you. We're going to try to hinder your First Amendment. I think that's why.
But it's the right thing to do to fact check people that are coming over the screens and giving people information. That's the whole point. That's why we have, we're supposed to have freedom of the press. They're supposed to be the, fourth
arbiter
pillar?
Of truth?
They're supposed to be the fourth pillar of what's important in this country, a free press that, questions Congress, not
only
does
the conservatives.
What Congress says. I mean, the checks and balances are crazy.
Completely gone. I'm not even sure, though, we ever had that. Some people go, we used to have a free press, and now I look back and I go, I don't know, based on what? How do we know? Has the government been telling us the truth? I mean, how long have they been lying to us? And if we're putting out information, how legit has that information been for a long time? It makes you question history when you realize that the news, you cover the current events, and then you move on to the next current event, and then the way the news has covered it becomes your history. How long has the news been lying? How long has the government been lying? I think you could go back and look at the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Bingo.
Yeah,
That's kind of where it starts.
1963, wow, that's a long time ago. How many lies have been told, and how much of that has been cemented as the truth in our history? Makes you question a lot of things.
Well, I think that's when they started. I think they got rid of him because whoever got rid of him, I don't think it matters anymore.
I don't think it was the magic bullet.
Yeah, I doubt that one. But boy, if it was that one bullet, boy, that thing could sure move around pretty dang quick.
Was like an
and then go through the guy in front of you and turn around and come back.
And be pristine. No damage to it whatsoever.
Yeah, isn't that great?
It's fantastic.
That was another time, though.
Yes.
But
I think the CIA's involvement in a lot of things is very disturbing. We're finding out, that they've been involved in a lot of the most heinous things that have happened. The CIA
in the world?
In the world, yeah. What is their purpose, by the way? I was just thinking of that the other night as I was reading another, we find out their involvement in so many of the just awful things happening. And you go, what is their purpose? What good do they do? And why do we even have the CIA, honestly?
Well, because it's just a bunch of people that want to do experiments on us.
Probably want to control us.
No, they're past controlling us. They already do that. But, they use the mind control to get us to be complacent, and docile workers. But that wasn't enough for them. They didn't get rich enough off that. So then it was, hey, we can do experiments on them.
Well, it was an intelligence committee. It was supposed to be to protect America, just like Israel has Mossad. It's what it was for. But yeah, they pretty much were involved in Bay of Pigs.
Boy, if this is protecting America, I think we could find another way to do it because it's not really working.
I know, and it's not worth it because it costs trillions of dollars, and we're not, and it isn't working obviously because a lot of Americans are homeless and our veterans are homeless, so that's kind of the proof that it doesn't work.
And this is. I can't believe I'm in the middle of the political world, but this is one of the reasons when I walked away from the media. I just realized that, I've been working since I was young. I come from a big family. I worked my way into my dream career. And during COVID, I lifted my nose off the grindstone for the first time, just kind of slowed down and looked at the industry that I loved and said, what the hell happened to this? This isn't even journalism anymore. And it really started eating at me. I started feeling physically ill reading the news. It was like the news music would come up. I'd hear the theme song to the news, and I would just get a sick feeling. And this was going on, and we're putting COVID just nonsense out there. Lies, really lies.
Well, I seem to...
And I had to walk away. I just said, I got to walk away. And then I end up... how amazing is God when you say, God, just take over for me.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I can't do this anymore. It's immoral. And that he somehow puts me in the middle of the political world is... God's got a sense of humor, Roseanne.
I know.
It might be better than yours. I don't know.
It is. I steal a lot of material off him.
From God.
Yeah. I mean, like when I get, just how, like I was talking to this great woman artist, and I go, where does it come from? Is it just there all the time looking at her art,
Yeah.
And she goes, it just comes from God. It comes in. And I go, that's like my jokes.
The first time I was speaking at a Trump rally, it was January of, I think, 21. No, 20, what was it, 23? 22. I had to look at my husband. What year was that?
I know, I did that too.
And I was so nervous. And I mean, this was a big deal. This was Trump's first rally of the year. He chose Arizona. He's endorsed me, and I'm going to be speaking right before him. And we kind of have some ideas what we want to say for the speech. And, the week was really crazy. And the night before, I just look at the team that were around me, and I was kind of going through the script, and I go, this is terrible. This is not right. They're like, no, it's fine. I go, fine is not going to cut it. This is not feeling right for me, guys. I was in almost a panic. And we're trying to go through, rewrite it, start over, rework what we have. And I'm like, it's just not working. It's not working. I mean, and this is not like me. Usually I can make something work, but I was really
I bet it is just
stressed.
like you, because I do that with every show, every speech, it's to the walking to the stage. It won't come together till then.
Until then. So I go to bed, and I wake up in the middle. I'm in bed with my amazing husband, Jeff, and I'm in tears. I go, He goes, you're going to be fine. I go, no, you don't understand. I don't know what I'm going to say tomorrow. Mm-hmm. This is going to be 60,000 people. I have nothing. I don't know what I'm going to say. I really don't. And I was in tears. I don't cry very often. I was actually in tears. It was fear. Yeah. And I went to bed, and I just prayed. I said, God, give me the words. Go to bed.
That's
3 o'clock, I wake
too.
up, and I lay there, and
It's always 3 o'clock.
Thinking of it, and it's starting to come to me. Like the whole thing is coming to me. Mm-hmm. And I think, oh, this is so good. I'll remember it in the morning. Well, then I went, no, you don't. You're not going to remember it. So I walked out in the dining room, sat down. I didn't even turn the lights on full. The lights were so dim, I could barely see. I took a pen, and I just started writing it. Exactly what came to me. The messiest you could have ever imagined.
Oh, I can imagine.
Got it all out, put the pen down, went to bed, slept like a baby until I woke up. And I woke up the next morning, and I looked at that, and I went, what the hell did I just write? I was just trying to decipher it, but I did. I got it deciphered. We tweaked it on the way out.
That's what I do.
And I think it was a great speech.
It comes like that. Yeah, that's all mine too. I want to show her my notebook, talk about crazy. And then I forget something because my brain's going so fast, so I write it over here, and then I have to put a square around it. And then I get offshoots, and it's just like...
And it looks like does it look like somebody insane, literally?
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely.
Scribbles.
Absolutely.
It's like in A Beautiful Mind, his workstation.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Mind.
that. That was a great movie.
When I first got into politics, I said to my team, I said to Ross, who's my communications director, I said, I'm not doing any interviews with these corrupt bastards in the fake news. They're just going to do hit pieces.
Yeah.
They're going to ambush me. I'm not doing it. We will put our message out, videos and all that, but I'm not going to talk to them. So one day I look at the schedule and I see, the biggest fake news guy in town is doing an interview. And I go, how did this get on the schedule? It's only 5 minutes. I go,
I know, they always say that.
I was only in politics
That's
for
when you get in trouble.
3 weeks. And I thought, well, surely 3 weeks in, he'll say, oh, you're running for office. Why are you running for office? That kind of thing. No, we sit down to do the Zoom interview, and right away it's like, boom, boom, it's just like hitting
Yeah,
me with
they
the
always
nastiest
do.
stuff. And I
Yeah,
go,
they do that.
gosh, are you not going to just ask why I decided to run for office? It's kind of interesting. I left an illustrious career and I'm running for office. Is that a question worth asking? No, it was just an ambush attack piece. So I am.
What did he ask you?
He asked about donations to Obama and all this stuff. Why did you vote for Obama and that kind of thing? And I said, well, listen, I've been a registered Republican since I was 18. But when it came time to vote, I had covered John McCain quite a bit. I knew quite a bit about John McCain, and I was very much opposed to these endless wars. I had 2 little kids when they started, and I thought, if these things keep going, my son's going to go off and fight this endless war. I'm all for a noble war if we have to, but not a ridiculous, endless war. And so we took a shot on somebody. It didn't work out. There were really 2 bad choices. So, but that's kind of what it went, where it went. But I was
What
so
a great
angry
answer.
on the
well,
inside.
That is a concise and brilliant answer, though.
Well, it's
that
the
you gave.
truth. The truth is always a great answer.
I love that you speak the truth.
And the truth,
And you haven't quit either. I don't know. Where'd you get the, is it faith that keeps you strong in I call it it's being Daniel in the lion's den.
that I think about the Bible is really a big part of it. I mean, you think
Yeah.
about someone like Moses, who God called to be a leader, and he didn't want to, and he gave God every excuse. But I can't communicate. I stutter. I'm too old. I can't do this. And God said, "No, I've chosen you to do this. You can do this." And he was one of the great leaders in the Bible.
Right.
You think of Esther. I mean, the Bible has so many great stories. Whenever you have a moment of discouragement, if you just open the book, you'll find the encouragement you need to keep going.
Yeah.
It's a
definitely.
story that
That's
is-
why it's there.
Yeah. And that actually, during my end months and year of my career, I got sent home because they separated people out. We don't want anybody to get COVID. Have to send half the people home. And I was thrilled to work from my home office. But that's when I picked up the Bible off my desk. It had been sitting
really?
there gathering dust. Our churches were closed. And I said, I'm going to just pull the Bible down. I started reading it. And I went, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I hadn't read it since I was 14. And now I was in my 50s going, whoa, this has a totally different, my
Yeah.
life changed so much between the last time I read, when you're 14 and reading it, you're like, do I have to read this?
Yeah.
When
this
you,
makes no sense. Well, I always loved it.
and during
really.
COVID and the world starting to fall apart, it had so much wisdom in it.
Yeah.
And so it really did change my life, and definitely.
Is that what did it when you decided to leave journalism? Was that the moment? If you have one moment that
It
hit
was
you?
it was during COVID. I as I said, I kind of looked up
The
at my
quarantine.
industry and I went, what the hell happened to it? This is not even
Yeah.
truth anymore, and I don't want to be part of.
Oh.
I got into this to tell the truth, not to give half truths and lies.
Oh, so was it because of the things they were asking us to do, having to do with
Yeah,
COVID?
I started to realize that as I was reporting this, people would reach out to me because they know me, and they'd say, would you consider doing a story about, I noticed you guys covered this people who are dying, which is tragic.
Yeah.
But my whole family had it, they would say, and it was like a cold. Would you want to cover our family? And I thought that would be a great story. We covered the story of somebody that got, died from COVID. We think they died from COVID because they might have died from a heart disease or whatever, but every death was labeled COVID. And I had people reaching out saying, well, we had it and it wasn't that bad. Would you want to cover our experience? And I wanted to cover it, but there was no interest from the higher ups.
Wow.
When we did every half an hour, we did the COVID numbers. There's 45 new cases of COVID. The hospitals are at 90% capacity.
Yeah.
The ICUs are at 99% capacity.
Right.
So I started reading that and saying, there's 45 new cases, but just so you know, a lot of companies are forcing people to get tested. Many of these people may not even have symptoms.
Right.
So you don't have to panic about that. Hospitals are at 90% capacity. They're built to be at high capacity. We're not building hospitals to sit at 25 or 50% capacity. ICUs are at 99% because it's cold and flu season, and they're usually at 99%. So I was reading the numbers that way. Pretty soon they stopped having me read the numbers because I wasn't putting enough fear behind it.
Wow.
That's when I
Oh my
realized
God, yeah.
we're putting out fear. We're pushing division. We're pushing people to be isolated in their home. This
Right.
is because when you're isolated, afraid, and sick, you're more easy to control.
Absolutely.
And I was just, once it dawned on me that that's what was going on, and there was
And
no interest
also,
to put
the
truth
more
out.
you sell all of that
Fear and
over the screen,
division.
the more that person becomes addicted to the screen.
Yep.
It's who was that? What was that study where they not Pavlovian, maybe Pavlov. Yeah.
Where they kind of get addicted to that.
Yeah, to the
Stress
feel-good
that's
thing.
coming. Oh, the feel
the
good. I don't know if
dopamine
you're
thing
feeling good.
with the mice and the dopamine one?
Yeah, the dopamine. Yeah. That's the only pleasure and relief you get is sitting there looking at the screen that's totally brainwashing and lying
Yeah.
to you.
No, fear is very addictive.
It
And
is.
That's how the
so
algorithms
the
work,
COVID
too.
part was really weighing heavy on my heart. And then the election, November 3rd, 2020.
That was my birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, I had been asking my fans and compatriots and, people, I want you guys to give me the best birthday I've ever had. And so they said, oh, we will, Roseanne, we will.
A Trump victory.
Yeah. And so I've said, thank you so much for giving me that beautiful birthday gift, America. And I knew that you had. And it just was wonderful to be a part of that great victory.
Of Trump. We all know Trump won.
Well, that's what she's saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Well-
Especially on your
Well,
birthday.
I didn't say it out loud like you did, Carrie.
We can say it. We're on Rumble
Well,
now.
yeah,
I
we-
was faking. I was doing the fake news about
Oh,
it.
did you do
Well,
that?
no, I
Yeah.
was going all around it to not say
Oh,
it.
to not say it. Because, I mean, can you imagine you can't talk about...
Yeah.
You can't question your government. You can't question elections. Since when?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up back when you were supposed to question your government and call out corruption. And
Yeah.
so when all of a sudden the election happened, I'm covering it that night live on the air, and
Oh,
producer
you
gets in
were?
my ear and she says, Brett Baer, they just called it for Biden. And I went, what? What? No, they just called Arizona for Biden. I said, well, people are still in line voting because there were some centers that the lines were long. And even though the polling places were closed, if you were still in line, you could still vote. And I go, that's impossible. Florida had been done and over, and they refused to call Florida for Trump because they didn't want to give any illusion that Trump was having a great night. Trump had a killer night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He won 12 million more votes than he won in 16.
Right.
He won the most votes of any incumbent president in our
Ever.
history.
Ever.
And it was so massive, such a landslide that they had to, in order to boost this practically cadaver who was sitting in his basement, they had to make up the most fantastical BS line that he won 81 million votes.
Do you remember the toilet leak when they shut down the vote?
Yeah, the water main break, which
And it
was
was
like
Yeah.
a toilet leak when they finally researched it.
That's
Yeah.
what it was.
And
A
when did they
toilet
stop-
leak.
everyone gets kicked out. Then the ballots start coming from under the
Yeah.
tables.
Do you
Well, we
remember
saw
that
it.
ever happening where they stopped the vote count? Have you
No.
ever seen that? So that was new.
Who ordered that? Because they stopped the vote
That's the
count in
question.
several states, 5 or 6 states.
The most important 5 or 6 states that ended
Yep.
up going
The
for
ones where
Biden.
they-
Somebody knows who did it.
Yeah.
Somebody said, we're going to stop the vote count
Yeah,
because we
and-
can't keep up. The people voted for Trump in such a landslide. You know, you don't lose 17 out of 18 bellwethers and then win the most votes in the history of our country. That's why I wrote the song 81 Million Votes My Ass.
Yeah.
Which
You
tops-
wrote that?
Well,
She's on it.
I should say, it
I
came from...
didn't remember that. I just remember hearing the song.
No, she's
but I
it's her
didn't put
speech.
her.
No, she's on the song.
Well, I didn't write the
Oh my
music,
God, I don't
Roseanne.
remember anything
No, they wrote
anymore.
they wrote a song around her saying.
I know. I saw that
Yeah.
song.
Yeah, she was a part of it.
You know,
didn't
when
know
I
that.
did a speech at
Song
CPAC,
number
I
one.
did a speech at CPAC, and I was just talking about all the BS, and
I
I,
have
said,
to watch
81
that
million
again.
votes, my ass. And
Well, that's why I named my tour the 81 Million Jokes Tour.
I love it. 80, are you really going to have 81 million? Are you going to
Yeah.
have more like how many votes Joe got? Is it going to be more
I'm getting like the more
40 million?
Yeah, I'm getting
I think
yeah.
65. I'm going to say
60
65.
you think you got 65?
I do because there was a huge turnout. I think he probably got around 65. That's all.
You do?
Yeah. A lot of people
Although
voted
I-
with the media
Election
brainwashing.
denier.
I am an election denier, 100%.
I think he got
30
28.7 million votes.
real votes.
I think he
Yeah.
would have got the same as Biden. I mean, as
Well,
Obama and Hillary.
You
No.
think
just on
60,
base.
but you
Obama
know
would get more.
the mail-in ballots is where there's so much fraud.
Of course.
And they poured a bunch of them in there. But then that wasn't even enough, which is why they had to
Yeah,
stop
they had
the
to go
counting.
back.
Well, they had to
And
know
you
how
saw
many
how the
votes.
It took
number
them
shot
a
up
week
for him.
to print. You figure it took them a week to get those ballots from China that aren't watermarked. You know, the fake
Allegedly,
ballots.
allegedly.
Allegedly,
I
mean.
know. You know,
But
that's
this is the
a
stuff
little-
I go on the internet for news. Who knows if it's a lie or not?
Well, the media, the
But
media
you
is
think
lying so
mi-
much. The government's
if the
lying
news
so
was
much.
getting the counts, like you were sitting there reading 2 million votes in what's it, who's it?
Yeah.
You don't think the military knows that? They actually think it's the news that calls the election.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how brainwashed we are.
Yeah. I am for election day, paper ballots.
Me too.
Show your ID and you count that. That's when I started voting back in 1988. That's what they
Right.
did. Small precincts. You've got 500 voters on the roll. Maybe 300 show up. Maybe 500 show up. And it's harder to cheat that way. Polls close and you have a bunch of observers, and now we can have cameras very inexpensively
Yeah.
watching those observers, and they count the ballots right there. By the end of the night, we know the winner. They send those results back to Central, and then they they add them all up. And we've done this before. And people go, it's too expensive. No, it's really all volunteers. Maybe you
Yeah.
have a few people hired. It's actually a lot cheaper. Oh, it would take too much time. You mean more time than 11 days, which is what it took to count Maricopa County?
Yeah.
11
Oh,
days? I mean,
that is, we could talk about like the fact that the voting machines all misfired in
It's-
the Trump territories all over that county.
I should feel flattered, actually, as if I weren't so angry about them stealing this, trampling the sacred vote of the people of Arizona. But in 22,
They
in our election,
disenfranchised Arizona
they
voters.
had to cheat in so many different ways because our movement was so powerful. Our movement is so powerful.
Yeah,
They
more
went,
than ever.
okay, they pumped in a bunch of phony ballots with no chain of custody, about 300,000 of them. And they thought that'll be enough to stop her. And then they went, oh crap, that's not enough to stop her because people are showing up in droves
Yeah,
on
they
election
were.
day. And they found that out. They realized how many people were showing up.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we're going to have to sabotage election day. This is how I think they were thinking.
Of
We're going
course,
to have
you're
to
tapping
sabotage.
in.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so they spent 3 days they didn't test any of the tabulators. They didn't do logic and accuracy tests on
Right,
any of the tabulators that went out. They did spend 3 days opening and breaking the seals, putting in new memory cards, and doing some secret testing where they found out that 60% of the tabulating machines would fail.
Right.
Then they rolled those tabulating machines out in the Republican areas. And guess what? About 60% of the machines failed. 200,000 plus ballots were unreadable, spit out on election day, when the majority of those people were voting for me.
Of course.
I
Didn't
should
they
be
find
flattered.
a couple 100,000 of them in Joe Biden's garage?
Probably in the trunk of his
Yeah.
Corvette. How does he afford that classic car and the three mansions?
You get 10%. He's the big guy. He gets 10% of every deal Hunter does and Burisma. I mean, it's
Can
just
you
money in the
imagine?
pocket. Of course, I
Hey,
see him
that's
do it.
allegedly.
That's not allegedly, actually.
Oh.
If one of those accusations were true about Trump, they would have he really would be tarred and feathered and in prison.
Absolutely. Well, they tried, what has it been, 7 years to find one thing they could get him on, and they've all failed. But you know what? It's the process to punish.
Yeah.
It's like, it is a witch hunt, because it's like, they know that their case is never going to be heard, or if it is, they could manufacture that much BS that, by the time it gets to a higher court, it will be dismissed in a heartbeat by real lawyers.
Yeah.
Unless
I'm
they can
hoping
bribe
that
them too. But
Trump
I mean,
has his day in court and is able to put out this evidence of 2020 because I think everyone really knows it's rigged. And
well,
now
that's
people,
what I wanted to ask you about, like knowing broadcasting and being a broadcaster as, Me Too and him. Like the way it seems to be unfolding, it does have all the signs of like being the greatest show on earth. The Trump trial. I mean,
my gosh. I mean, did he call it the trial of the century?
Yeah.
You were probably in LA when the OJ
yeah, I
trial
was his
happened.
neighbor.
Yeah, we were in Brentwood.
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
It was really
Did you hear
weird.
anything that night?
No, because he did it over like a few blocks over.
Yeah, like when the hiding
Alleged.
of the...
No, that wasn't alleged.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah, the
alleged.
whole thing. Yeah.
Well, I always said that. They would say, is Joe Biden the president? I said, did Joe Biden win? I said, yeah, he won just like, Joe Biden won just like O.J. Simpson is innocent. Yeah. Joe Biden won just like O.J. Simpson is innocent. No, I think that the media will cover it. I'm hoping, well, they're going to have to cover it.
Oh, they've already
I
ordered
wonder what
TVs
they'll
in the
do.
courtroom.
Some
They have.
people say that they will.
It'll be so embarrassing. You'll watch all the evidence being played out, and then you'll go back to the newscasters, and they'll be trying to act like that didn't happen and backtracking and panic. It's going to be so much fun to watch that.
Wouldn't it be? And to like actually witness actual fact
On the
being
news?
shown on TV.
And
And
then
those
having
particular
to
channels.
watch them come out from that and watch the reaction is going to be so priceless.
The
I'm looking
greatest show
forward
on
to it. It
earth.
will
I
be.
am too. But you know that they would schedule it the day before Super Tuesday for him.
I know. It is, when he says this is election interference, it is so true.
And I love that the Google, what did they say about Google? Talk about election interference. Forget all that with the phony machines and the handwriting, which you won.
Yeah.
Well, you're
In your
still
favor.
in court over.
We're
the
still in court. As a
signature.
matter of fact, at the time of this taping, we last night just filed our appeal, which is really good, in the appellate court for our original case.
Oh, great.
Our original case.
Oh,
So that's
great.
moving
Was
forward,
that the
and it's a really
signature?
good appeal. The question is, can we get a judge who's willing to be courageous and do the right thing? And it does take courage. It takes a judge who's
does
willing to say, we got to set this aside.
Well, I pray for them. That's what I like to do here is pray that God will, there's got to be one judge there who believes, in God and, the constitutional republic of the United States.
And realizes the
And
weight.
knows that the weight of the whole world is in his action. So I hope that God would give him the courage and the decency to do it, because it needs to be done.
They would be really a savior of this country if they do the right thing. My theory is, and we've kept many cases out there, we've got 2 court dates coming up at the end of September. We're trying to get our hands on the envelopes that people mail their ballots back in to prove that they don't have signatures, they have chicken scratches. So we have a 2-day trial to see if we can get our hands on those, because they are public records. And we're hoping that just having these cases out there in front of a judge as more and more and more information comes
I'm
out.
mad that they're not even. I haven't seen anything on Twitter, X, whatever. I have, because I can't sign into other ones. I'm too dumb for that. But there has not been a lot of coverage about the fact that you did win that. That they said that
The way they did signature verification, comparing the wrong signatures.
was illegal.
That's a big victory. And
It is a huge victory.
That'll help in 24, which is great. But, they'll find another way. That I think, and actually, I think they're worried that they won't have enough methods to cheat.
Well,
I think
then
they used them all, and now they're like, that's why they want to make sure Trump stays off the ballot. That's
Yeah,
why they didn't
that's
want
their
me on the
next
ballot.
thing, yeah.
They came to my door. A powerful person in politics came to my door and tried to bribe me out of running again. This was months ago. He said, we'll offer you a great job title, a big salary, a position on a board if you don't run in 24.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, why wouldn't you want me to run? We've got a great movement. I mean, I really wasn't thinking about running at the time. I was finishing my book, trying to get out the door to go to CPAC. And I said, you do know that I walked away from a prestigious job and a large paycheck, a 7-figure contract. I walked away from that, so I'm not motivated by that. And that's not going to, and I said, who wants me out that they're willing to do that? Well, some powerful people back east is what the answer was.
What does that mean?
And then as I finally shooed the guy out of my house and I was kind of walking him out, he said, well, how much would it take? What would it take to keep you from running, to keep you off the ballot? Just one election cycle. See, I think they don't want me on the ballot and Trump on the ballot because they know that I've got a movement, Trump has a movement, and they won't be able to stop Trump with more Arizonans excited to get out.
Yeah, because it's a key state.
It's a very important state. They have methods to cheat. I don't think they're going to be able to employ enough of those methods with Trump this next time around.
That brings me to the big one that I wanted to talk to you about. is that the whole Google story about forget all machines and that's enough.
Yeah.
But the real thing, to me, is about the mind control through the box.
Yeah.
That you're addicted to this country, and Google is such a large part of that, and that they would set algorithms to keep people from knowing the truth.
Well, Dr.
It's just terrible
Epstein.
election
Yeah,
interference.
he's the one.
Dr. Epstein just testified in
Yep.
front of a committee in Arizona
Yep.
about a week and a half ago, and he's horrified. He communicates with me now, and he says it's horrifying what they're doing to control. Even people who think, no, I've got a good grip on things. We're easily influenced by what comes up on our computer.
Right.
And who's really choosing what comes up? I mean, we may be clicking on things, but we're clicking on things from a choice that we've been given.
Yeah, we've
Who's
been given a
choosing that?
menu, and
That's set,
and
yeah.
we're just all we can order is what's on the menu. It's not like we can go.
And check this out. The menu is intelligent enough to know what you do want to eat and will tailor the menu to change for your likes. So it actually is a programmed algorithm. It knows what to feed you. It knows how to make you mad. It knows how to keep you on the screen.
Yeah.
It knows what information you will believe or not. That's what Google does. And what he testified, Epstein,
total mind
he was talking
control.
about little things like, predictive text. When you go and if you type in Kari Lake in Google,
Yeah.
it'll add 3 words. And
Oh,
it'll
I
be,
know. Some
is
of the
an
stuff I've
election
seen
denier.
it. I'm like,
No, this is a fact, and it
how
wasn't
about
just Epstein.
Kari Lake, policy? No, not
No.
policy. It's always something like, some BS thing that
Absolutely.
it adds in there. Have you ever typed just your name in and then you see what else comes up?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
It'd be
You
Roseanne
wouldn't
Barr.
believe-
What do you think?
Oh my
What would you
God,
like
it's
to see pop
changed
up?
over the years, though. I've been a fan of doing that, of the story they
me
spin
do it right
about
now while you
me. Oh
talk.
my God, it's unbelievable. If people really knew, they would be surprised, I think.
That's what I've learned.
It depends on what year. It
You
had
put
a
the
lot to do with my
research in.
my going up, and then being at the top. Because when you're going up, they like you.
Yeah.
And then when you're at the top, they really like you until you're old meat and you start to stink.
No, I think
Then
it's
they
not
gotta
that
take
until
down.
until they realize, oh, we can't control this one.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have control. We better take her down.
Well, but I think they get tired of the shiny thing after a number of
A while.
After a while, no matter who. So then they go, oh, because somebody told me this. Then they break you down so they can build you back up again.
Yeah.
To break you
Back
down again.
to make
Because
you a good story.
Well, because their whole view of personalities or stars is, whether they're using you, to send a message to the viewer. And it's all like economics, manipulation
Yeah,
of minds.
Well, during the campaign, I believe what he said. He said when he testified, Dr. Epstein, he said that Google was a part of, I think he said like 4% of the vote that I
I
lost
think they
because
said
of that.
14%.
it was
14?
enough to
It was
overturn.
enough.
Oh yeah,
to-
it was
yeah.
enough to overturn it. But
Well,
it was,
that
But-
along with all the other things like the voting machines and the
right.
signatures.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We won in a landslide. I'm 100% convinced of that,
Me
without a
too.
shadow of a doubt.
Me
too.
But I remember during the campaign, I forget which outlet did some sort of a poll, and they did all the research and they looked at, negative stories, news stories on politicians, Democrat and Republican. Of course,
Yeah.
the Democrats never have negative news
Yeah,
stories. They
never.
could literally like skin a cat.
No, it's true.
And
We all saw
be an
that.
axe murderer, and they would be
That's
covered.
election interference.
And then Republicans or conservatives, especially MAGA conservatives, 87% of the stories were negative about Republicans. And I'll never forget it. I'm reading it going, this is terrible. 87% are negative about conservatives. That's BS.
Yeah.
And then the last line, there was one candidate that had 100, in our survey, had 100% negative coverage. And it was me. Like, oh my gosh.
How biased is that?
Totally
that
biased.
just shows you right there who they're after and afraid of.
It's, yeah, well, one
It's
of
like
the,
they speak in one voice for their boss. That's what corporate is.
the Media Matters, which is a Soros entity.
Yeah, they help
put out
fire
kind
me.
of the talking points
Yeah.
for the day, and the biased journalists go, okay, who should we be going after? I'm at the top of the list. There was a headline that said the most dangerous politician in
I saw
America.
that.
I thought it was a story about Trump, and I figured I was just mentioned in it. And I scrolled down and saw my picture, and I thought, wow, they are really nervous. I mean, think of how nervous they must be, because it shows you they are not willing to have outsiders who they can't control.
Right.
It tells me they can control almost everybody who's in D.C.
Yep.
Because
Well, of course they can.
if whoever they are writing the nastiest stuff about is who you should be supporting.
Yes.
That's what I've learned in all of this.
I think that's fairly clear to most Americans at this time.
I hope so. I mean, think of the things they've said about you, and
Well,
I always
that
love,
is just a symphony of hate.
and then you meet the person behind it, and you're like, this is one of the most charming, wonderful people. That's what I've learned in being in politics. These people that have been, castigated and
Yeah,
torn
I
down
found
in the
that
media.
out, too.
I've met a lot of them. I've had the great pleasure of meeting them. President Trump, gotten to know him. He's a friend. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've met all these people, and they're wonderful people who love this country.
Yeah.
Not a thing of what's being written about them is true.
Of course not.
Well, look who's writing it.
A bunch of leftist nutballs, yeah.
Well, they have no ability for self-reflection, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're walking down the street waving their wieners in our face and then telling us we're offensive. Think about it.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're actually absolutely right.
I know.
A lot of judgment being pushed our way when
With a wiener in your face.
I will tell you one thing I did notice when I was running.
Did you notice
thing we
like
prayed.
I didn't see that. Was
no,
there really
I
somebody
wasn't
who did
gonna
that?
say about those guys walking
Oh,
down
100%.
the street in
You
the
haven't
parades.
seen that? The gay rights parade. He actually
Showing
had an
their
erect
wieners.
penis.
And
as a
he's
kid.
actually a journalist?
No. She's
Okay.
just saying
Oh
the
my
left.
God!
Well,
Okay.
you didn't specify. She was talking about the left. These are the people.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, with their parades and their drag
Yeah.
queens reading to children,
Yeah.
and then they
Where
say
did that
we're
whole
offensive.
thing start from? Where did the whole we got to have drag queens in schools start?
It's called grooming. It's been around forever.
It just came overnight, though.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
kind
No,
of
it
like
didn't.
well-
It's been growing. It puts
It's
when you're trying to
infiltration.
get in a really ice cold pool, and first you put in your big toe, and then you go slowly up to your ankle.
Yeah.
It's in
It's been-
increments.
Yeah,
well,
look
one of the
back.
Like
first things I
fascism
noticed
comes as incremental. It doesn't just happen.
It has
It's
to
been
go.
working on it for a long,
has
long
to go
time.
very slow.
Yeah.
Just like losing our rights. You don't just
Yeah,
take all of them away.
slowly,
You don't
right.
tear the Constitution up like many I think in D.C. really do want to do. You just slowly take a little right away. Yes, we're going to search everything you've got when you go to the airport. I know there's the Fourth Amendment, but we're going to search everything on you, and you're going to go through these detectors. And okay, we got to swab everything, and we're going to do a pat down, and we agree to all of this begrudgingly.
And slowly.
And then it's another.
Well, because they were lying to us the whole time. But we were tricked into thinking lies are truth.
and having to go along with. And then what are you going to do? Go? I'm not traveling. You don't have a choice on that. Mm-mm. So, but I think the
people
thing I
are
noticed,
waking up to go, you know what? We can stop buying that bullshit.
Yeah, that's true.
We're at a great time for moms. So I wanted to go into the mama bear thing.
I love that. But stop buying, because we can protest with our mouths. We can
and
go
our
physically,
brains.
but we can protest by how we spend our money, and that's really critical right now.
And how you
We've
raise
seen
your
it with
kids.
Bud Light,
Sure is.
How
with the
you raise your
trans
kids.
thing in Bud Light.
Yeah.
I noticed the trans thing, and it didn't sneak up. It was pretty quick when I sent both of my kids a few years ago, right? It was before COVID, to summer. They were going to both do a summer camp. And my son's was like a survivalist, learn how to start a fire. I mean, you've got a backpack and you are out there surviving. Mm-hmm. And my daughter's she wanted to do going to medical school or something like that. So hers was across the country at, it was in Nashville. His was out in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And he ended up having an asthma attack and had to come home early. Oh, it was not good to be that high up, but we got him out.
Oh, no.
But he called me from base camp and he said, I go, how did it go? I mean, what'd you learn right away? Like the first thing, he's like, well, we got out, we set the camps up and started a fire. And then everyone sat around and go, oh, that must have been amazing. And you're cooking or, getting your own food. And he goes, no, they started asking us like what pronouns we want to use.
Oh,
and I'm
my
like,
God.
what? I hadn't even heard of this crap. Sorry, I almost... and I go, this is, did they teach you how to like not get eaten by a bear? No. We first did the pronoun thing. And I said, well, was everybody like, a boy was a he and a girl was a she? No, one of our, counselors was they or whatever. And I went, oh my gosh, that's so unnecessary, weird, stupid. And then my daughter a week later goes to Vanderbilt for this summer camp. The first day she calls, she goes, you're not going to believe the first day we went through like all the rules and then we talked about pronouns. These are two separate camps. They're not associated with, each other. Yeah. And this was that's when I noticed it. I went, something is going on here. That this is like, okay, time to roll out the pronoun thing. Now we're going to roll out the COVID thing. They just keep rolling out crazy stuff.
And then the tried and true genetic shot. The gene
vaccine.
altering shot.
Whereas if you said that before, they would actually clip your video.
Yeah.
Oh,
Turn the power off at your home.
They probably will. But a lot of people are saying that they're afraid that before Trump is able to present his case on television, that they'll just shut the whole thing down. And satellites, everything. Blackout.
Like a media blackout or a electricity
grid.
I think they're trying to think of everything to stop him. Nothing would surprise me anymore. It's
like they're all going to move to Ukraine and take our government with them.
I'm starting to think that Zelensky is our president. I mean, the way
I know.
I have a feeling he calls Joe and says, jump, and Joe says how high, or get us some more money right now, and they roll it in. It's so unconscionable.
It's more like Joe calls him and says, I'm going to send money, you're going to wash it, take my 10% out, and send it back to me.
Could be. I think they've got him by the you-know-what right now, and he can't.
Do you think they'll do anything? What do you think of that Kevin McCarthy?
I think they really need to consider, obviously, turning off the money to a lot of this stuff, to the Jack Smith.
I know. They sit there griping because they just want their 15 minutes of fame on the television while they're grilling each other. And then they don't do a damn thing. They think it's that we're going to be bought off by these TV moments and clips.
Well, and we are all watching now. I mean, if you think about what we were watching, how many people would even watch like C-SPAN or 20 years ago? A few people did. Now I don't watch anything Hollywood puts out.
I don't either.
It's not even interesting. The real world is so much more interesting right now, and politics is where it's at. And these guys are being watched now. And I think that McCarthy is feeling that heat. I mean, he's got his own people, own Republicans going, you better get on this. Are we going to impeach or not? Because they impeached Trump over a phone call.
I know.
They impeached him for nothing. And we've got a mountain of evidence on Joe Biden, and they need to do it.
But, I think they're thinking about it. Because, they're like involved in some really weird game that we're not part of. But I watched both of their moves, and it's like they're trying to, I think this is the end of a big chess game that they're trying to figure out who's really going to take the last move.
Really? Okay.
And they're like, I think that somewhere they're like, if we impeach him, look what we're left with.
That's true.
Right? So they might not want to go that way. It might be better to go another way with him.
Well, one of the things I see is by keeping him out there, as disastrous as it is, because we're going to get disaster with Kamala Harris. Either way, they're both. This whole administration is absolutely rotten to the core. By keeping him out there, mumbling, bumbling, fumbling, it's reflecting on the Democrats. It's forcing them. I mean, eventually they may be like, yes, we hope the Republicans impeach him because we got to get rid of him. He's so bad.
Well, they're trying to make the Republicans do it, I think. But they're going to have to do it. And they know it. And I think that's the chess game.
Okay.
They know they're going to have to get rid of him. So they're considering, putting in somebody else. And they don't quite know who. Because Kamala's... She wasn't, she's got citizenship issues.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, she
Well,
does.
she's even less popular than he is.
And then there's
that
the fact
possible?
that nobody.
That's like the
Oh
low
my God!
bar.
Did you see her where she tries to act like she's human? That
Yeah.
I mean, allegedly she's they're on the third clone with her.
Well, I don't know what's going on, but she doesn't quite have the syntax that kind of goes from the brain to the mouth.
No, there's no brain there. There she is at 911, and they show the somber picture of everyone commemorating the 3,000 dead that are,
And they're naming their
incinerated
names, which
alive
is-
there. And here's her.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
In the photo.
Doing her fake laugh.
Cackling. It's just horrible. I can't believe we're here. I think
And she's just Obama. So he's already on his third term, destroying our country. And then, so if he gets her in there, that'll be his fourth term.
and then
He's
does
a
she yeah,
little tyrant.
I don't know. Yeah, so you think Obama still has a lot of control?
Yeah, he told us he would sit in the basement and talk through,
Yeah,
you know.
and have an earpiece in his
Yeah.
ear. He came out and did a event during the campaign for my opponent, and he's just a shell of the man he was. I interviewed him one time.
You
And
did?
Yes.
Did you find him charming? He seems charming.
It was in March. It was the day before Trump pretty much secured the nomination. It was Trump versus Ted Cruz, and the next day Trump had the number of electoral votes to win. And so I asked Obama some pretty tough questions. Most people go in there and softball him. They gave me 3 minutes with them. He spends the first 2 minutes filibustering, so he didn't have to get many more questions. But I asked him a few questions about Trump. Oh, the American people will never elect Trump. I will say this, when he walked in, actually I walked in the room, he was in there. I was like, it was such a letdown because he had been built up by the media to be this larger than life character. And I was like, wah, wah, it was like, this is Obama? I mean, I covered him all these years and seen the video of him in the media, just everything he did. He'd move and they would be like,
I loved him.
and so it was
Oh my God, it was-
underwhelming. He was very beta,
Yeah, he's bad.
not an alpha guy at all. And not as big as I thought he was going to be taller, and he was kind of like skinny. And we did the interview. It went fine. Afterwards, I take a picture with him. They took a picture with everyone who interviewed him that day, and it was my producer, me, and Obama. And of course, that picture my opponents used that against me so much in the race.
Oh,
They clipped the producer off, and I'm smiling in it. I remember somebody said something funny in there, and I was smiling. Pretty big smile. I mean, I'm in the White House, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
To
really
interview a
cool.
sitting president, and I'm smiling. They took that picture of Obama and me, and they tried to make it look like we were, at prom or dating or something. So I'm like, oh, that picture that I took. I was so happy to be, interviewing a sitting president, and then that came back during the campaign. It was like the picture they kept using. At one point, I woke up during the primary, and my opponent, who was a woman about my age, married to a 95-year-old billionaire, spending his money for a vanity project to run for governor. We wake up and there's pictures of Obama and me, and it says donated to Obama. Kari donated to Obama. And I was so mad. I'm like, first of all, 10 million Obama voters crossed over and voted for Trump and brought us
Right,
President
exactly.
Trump. And every day, Democrats are waking up, realizing the Democrat Party of yesteryear doesn't exist anymore.
No.
And they're realizing that we've got to start putting America first. And Trump was not some extreme right-winger. He put forth common sense policies that actually put our country first to try to get us out of the rut we were in under
Well,
Obama.
one Democrat who left the party and became a Republican is Trump himself.
That's right.
As did I, as did every sane
As did
thinking
Reagan.
American. As did Reagan.
As did Reagan.
But I mean, there's just a certain point where it's like, hey, you guys are all a bunch of thieves on
Yeah.
both sides of the aisle, and you're stealing public money and putting it into your private pockets.
Right.
And we're on to you, and we don't care what party you say you
That's
are.
right.
You
Amen.
have a number of things on my list here to fulfill or get the hell out.
And Trump did that. He
Yeah.
everything he said he was going to do. They said it would be impossible. He'll start wars. He'll crash the economy. Just the opposite.
Right.
Didn't start a war.
He
Brought
showed
peace to the Middle
America,
East.
which is stuck on old ideology, can't grow beyond it, especially the left, that you can have peace and prosperity, which they had totally forgot. And they thought all you could have was war and prosperity.
Because
it's so wrong.
War brought them prosperity.
That's right,
Right.
because they're
Trump
war masters.
was not about the military-industrial complex.
That's right.
And the military-industrial complex runs the world. I think we all know that.
Yes, we do.
And these are why presidents like JFK didn't survive.
That's right.
He was pushing against that, and when the minute you push up against that, they want you out. And I think that's why they really wanted to bring Trump down. Peace. There's no money. The military-industrial complex doesn't make a lot of money during peace. They make trillions during war.
I wanted to say one thing. Martin Luther King, he spoke a lot about racism, and they had, they liked hearing that we were breaking down barriers and moving forward. But when he started to talk about endless wars, he was shut up real fast.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
those were his last speeches about, using poor people to go and make money through war and dying,
Sending our
for
sons
a
and
rich
daughters, yeah.
a rich class.
For an endless war. Well, Vietnam
Yeah.
is an example of that. And so many, a lot of poor people, we lost a lot of African American soldiers over there.
Yeah, they were the front lines because, obviously neither party cares enough to do anything about, rehabilitations or just what's owed.
There's too much
or
money.
to make anything right, to
Right.
fix any problem that befalls any American as a class or just as an individual. But to make law after law, making it more difficult. It's like the very reason for the Declaration of Independence itself, when in the course of human events, it becomes impossible to live under this kind of bullshit. We have to come up with something better that actually works.
Yeah. To throw off this government. Yeah. I think we're kind of there right now. I think we're kind of there right
I
now.
think
And the
we
beautiful
kinda are
thing
there
is,
too.
whereas the truth speakers, the truth tellers of yesteryear, the Martin Luther King, JFK, when they started getting too close to that flame, they were snuffed out. Now too many of us understand what's going on. They can't
think
take us
that's
all
right.
down. And I think that's what they're very nervous about. And Trump showed us that you can get in there. You don't need 2 decades to solve a problem like these bozos in D.C. had made us believe. Oh, if you want to, it's going to take 2 decades to solve this problem. We'll promise you more. And we won't deliver. He did it like that with everybody coming after him. He inspired me to run. I mean, I can't believe I end up this fed up mom in the middle of politics. But when I walked away from my career and put my video out saying, I can't do this anymore. Thank you for inviting me into your homes, but I just can't do a job that is only half truths.
Right.
And so I thank the people of Arizona, and it was immediate that people started reaching out and saying, would you run for office? We really need somebody who
Yeah, it
understands.
totally makes sense because
Covered
they
the
had seen
state.
your face and trusted you as a news broadcaster all those.
And I covered Arizona, so I knew the issues. I knew what worked, the politicians who didn't do the job. And at first,
you
I
spoke
laughed
truth to
at it.
power. Oh, that's always a good one.
I laughed. I was like, "There's no way these people they must hate me." I just left the corrupt world of fake news, and they want me to go into the even more corrupt world of politics. But then I really thought about our founding fathers, and that's what they expected. It was the merchants and the farmers who went in, and the doctors and lawyers who went and served. They ran for office as citizen politicians, and then they went back home to their lives. They didn't stay there forever and ever and ever.
Yeah,
like the
that
Nancy
was a great
Pelosi's.
thing. Yeah, that was a great thing that Trump suggested. Term limits. I never had heard. I have never heard another politician ever say that. I loved it.
I like it too. I can see both sides, and I'm only saying this not because I like people like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden who've been there forever and ever. They're wheeling in wheelchairs. They've got like one eye drifting to the side. They can't speak. I mean, this is what we deal with Dianne Feinstein, and They've been there forever. It's
What
time
about
to go.
the,
but here's why I don't.
What about that Fetterman guy?
Fetterman. We're going to get 1,000 more just like that if we don't get our elections straightened out. They're just going to keep rolling out these imbeciles if we don't get our elections turned around. But the reason I haven't always been for term limits, I'm really open to the idea, is because it's not in our Constitution. And I believe that our founding fathers never envisioned that somebody would want to go and spend their whole life in Washington. They didn't see that people would want to make that a career because there's really no money in it. There shouldn't be money in it.
But
and they
there's
have
big
to go
money
home.
in it.
They have to go home and tend back to their farms and businesses. So they didn't put that in. But they also thought that our elections would be fair. Mm-hmm. If we have honest elections, we're going to vote these losers out. But it's impossible to vote these losers out when our elections are rigged.
Right.
Well, it's also like another thing that's interesting to me is, ballot access of a candidate. That's how they're going to try to take you and Trump down. Next is ballot access, because, I ran for president in 2012, and it became all about ballot access, and that was very, very difficult.
It's hard. You have to
I
pay
only
money,
got
don't
on
you?
3. No, well, you do, but that's just a normal amount.
Okay.
But I only got on 3 ballots out of 50 states, and it was so hard. And it was miraculous that I even got on 3. So, that's the new weapon that nobody's thought about yet. But I don't think they'll ever stop. It's not like even if he would win again, or maybe even if you would win again, that they would stop. Don't you fear that?
I think when Trump wins, I don't want to say if, when Trump wins, I believe his second administration is going to be, you know how fast he worked in the first administration and he had everyone coming at him? This one's going to be like whiplash. He's going to go and get stuff done real quick. And we're going to root out a lot of these corrupt individuals.
But, it seems like that's all there is. To say root out... Geez, the whole damn thing's full of them.
Well, then root it all out and bring some honest people in. Maybe this is your chance to run again, Roseanne.
Well, I told some people who ask me that all the time. I said, I don't need to run again because in 2012, I declared myself the de facto president of the American people for life.
I love that.
And
I'm not for dictators, but if we had to have one,
but
it might be fun to have Roseanne Barr.
It's as a grandmother figure, because I wanted to ask you this. Why is that
I don't
making
know.
such terrible noise?
I've shut it off. I don't
It's
know.
like the refrigerator's going
it's
rogue over there.
I think it's your air conditioning is overriding the.
This place
I'm
is
sure
wild
nobody
crazy.
can hear it. I'm sure no one can hear it.
Nobody said anything, and it came out on Candace too. Nobody said anything, so hopefully no one hears it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's your house.
Oh, well, everything's wired backward here. But
It's
anyway,
The mama bears.
yes, the whole mom thing, I think this is the dawning of the age of the mom and the grandmom.
I
It's
agree.
our time
Because
in every way.
When you're a mom, you're busy. You're packing the kids' lunch. You're trying to look through their book bag and make sure they've got all their homework ready for school, getting them ready. We're busy and we're trying to protect our babies, and we've seen what's happening to them. And now we go, crap, is anybody going to step forward and help solve this problem and save America? And we have to now jump in and save America. And that's
Yeah.
okay. We can. I always would love to put things on moms because they can get stuff done. That's
right.
And they have unleashed a monster. In the best way. This is
Monster's the right word.
when you've got mom and you're fed up. If you ever had mom, when mom's mad, it's one thing. You're like, okay, mom's mad. But maybe I should be asking Jake. When mom's mad, it's one thing.
Right.
When mom's pissed off, it's a whole new level.
Yeah, absolutely.
When mom's mad, you might try to butter her up and make her happy. If she's pissed off, you avoid her.
Yeah, you hide.
We've got a bunch of pissed off moms out there.
Yeah, we do.
And I believe it's going to be the moms that help save the world.
Oh,
I know it.
It always is.
We were talking about
They're
this
in.
last week. This is that's who it's going to do.
Speaking of the Bible, people have been brainwashed by Bible babblers, but every story in the Bible has a woman that gets the job done, starts the job and finishes it.
Yeah.
And people really need to reread it and look for that. Every time you read it, it's like a time machine wherever you are. and you'll get something completely different out of
Totally.
it than you ever did before.
Totally.
But read it for the women that are often unnamed or removed or diminished, but
Yeah.
their stories are very, very interesting, particularly to women as far as it comes to mustering the will and the desire to, manifest goodness here
Yeah.
on behalf of children and other people's children.
Well, it's that motherly instinct that God gave us. And,
I know.
It breaks my heart that a young generation has been told that, oh, that's, I don't want to have kids. Why would you want to do that? That's such a burden. I can live a selfish, fun life without kids. It's like, that is the greatest gift ever, to be a mother. I think all women have that motherly instinct. Even if they don't have kids, they have it. They just don't know it. And
It definitely deepens after the act of birth.
after the act of birth, it's so big. It is like you become a powerhouse. You become a superhero almost, protector of your babies. So then when we start seeing them
That's
going
how
after
I
our
see
kids,
you, because I see you. If I was a Hollywood casting director, you would be the one. You'd be wearing the Wonder Woman suit.
okay, suck in the gut.
You've got the Wonder Woman look. You've got that determination, and you're looking off into the future like this.
I'm very hopeful about the future, by the way. I know
That's
that there
cool.
is so much, it's like all hell is breaking loose, but because of my faith, and I know that God does not lose this battle, and
No, I know
we're
that
here.
too.
I don't know how it plays out. Now, I would prefer if it was on my timeline, we did this a little quicker and we got things cleaned up a little
More
faster.
efficiently.
But it's all about truly bringing people to God. And when times are tough, that's when you find yourself down on your knees praying. At least that's been the experience in my life. When things
Hard times turn people around.
yeah,
Right.
hard times create strong men and women. So I believe we have a lot of strife to come, and we'll just strengthen through that and hopefully come together. I think we have a lot of people who are going to be waking up as we're watching the economy falter, and
Yeah.
we're not slow walking into, we're fast walking into
Yeah,
war.
we're
People
rushing
aren't even
headlong.
paying attention. Yes.
Right.
So I think things are going to get tougher. It already is. I think it's like 17%. Cost of everything is up by 17% or more. Wages are down by 3%. You don't have to be a world-class economist
How would you suggest
to
people
know that does not work in the long run.
That's
That's
Bidenomics.
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 But do you have an antidote to Bidenomics in the way of? Can you suggest? Because I always think about. Well, I know what it's like to be poor, so I suggest ways to save money for regular people. Do you have some suggestions on that?
I grew up poor as well, although nobody told us we were poor. I think everyone was kind of poor back then.
Yeah.
And we had to work from a very young age. And I'm a very good worker. I always know that if I can say please, thank you, and clean, I can find a job because I've got the work ethic, and that was the greatest thing I got from growing up in a big family. I don't want to say work harder because I know many people who have 2 and 3 jobs. What I think the anecdote is to Bidenomics is Trumponomics. It's
Yeah.
getting Biden out and Trump in. We know Trump can turn this around very quickly. The biggest thing we have to do is immediately open up our energy again. Trump had our energy. We were energy independent, energy
We
dominant.
were just about to become the world's biggest exporter of oil.
Oil
What
and-
the hell?
I know.
I mean, talk about kneecapping us.
Yes.
That's just before we start turning a profit.
And this Green New Deal is going to destroy America and
And the world.
and the world. Do they think that forcing us to have paper straws is really helping anybody else? And it's not really. The straws aren't getting in the ocean.
Well, it's
You know
about
what's in the ocean?
tax.
The masks that the left is trying to force. There's masks. I've been walking.
I know,
There's
they're
masks
everywhere.
everywhere, and now everything's gone to like to plastic. You can't. Everything's to go now, and it's like, okay, this is a bunch of garbage. Because they wouldn't let us eat into the restaurants, you had to take everything to go.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
creating a bunch of
uh-huh.
garbage. But we have an abundance of oil and natural gas, and we need to be drilling like crazy. I don't want to have to rely on any other country for
Think
our
of the
energy.
jobs.
Look what's happening in Germany. They can't even afford to heat their homes. They've turned their back on nuclear, and they're reliant on energy from Russia right now. It's the
They're
highest
making
energy
Russia
costs.
really rich.
And Joe Biden wants to do that.
He does. That's what I don't understand about the American
He wants
people.
we were a superpower, and he
Yeah.
wants us to not be that anymore.
Yeah.
This is a huge shift in who the superpowers in the world are. So
We're helping Russia and China
Yep.
against us.
We're forcing them to team up against us.
And how shocking to find out that Joe Biden has been taking money from Russia and China.
It's very weird. It's a weird
And
coincidence.
Ukraine. Wow, how does
Yeah.
that work? And now we're pouring hundreds of billions into Ukraine. Meanwhile, our border is wide open in Arizona and California. And the drugs are pouring in. And you look at, so Trump has great policy. I think our
It's
policy was
horrifying.
Arizona first policy. And it was actually for...
I love that you go, that's because the cartels own this Congress
Yeah.
in Arizona. Boy, I was like,
Yeah.
boy, she's really telling the
The
truth.
cartels do.
They all took cartel money.
I just got an email from a Border Patrol agent. He said, it is so bad on the border. We have absolutely no control. The cartels are completely in control, and people are just walking
my
over.
God.
They're not even checking people in some of these places. They're just walking across.
I feel so bad for those people.
It's bad because Arizona knows what happened. They know that election was rigged. They know we sat and watched right in front of our eyes as they rigged this election and sabotaged election day, and then just acted like, okay, everybody, just deal with it. We're
Get
going to put
over
these
it.
frauds into the government and steal our government from the people. And they thought that I would go away and go, okay, well, we'll try again next. No, that's not how it works. If somebody steals something from us, we stand up and say, no, that's ours. We're taking that back. And they had many people, Roseanne, who were Republicans who said, don't fight this. Just
I'm
run
sure.
again. If we don't stand up on these rigged elections,
Well,
we're not
they're
gonna have a
all on the
country.
take too.
They must be on the take.
Of course. Why else would they say? Why else would they? Else would the Republicans in Congress in Texas let them pursue this? Oh, what's his name, Jake? I can't remember.
Paxton.
Ken Paxton,
Paxton.
who, by the way, at the time this recorded, was just acquitted of all
Oh,
charges.
I love it.
Acquitted
Gosh, that
of all
was-
charges.
Yep, just
All
happened.
right.
Okay,
It
so-
grinds fine. Grinds slow, but fine,
And
Justice.
his attorney was so good.
Yeah,
that
it
guy was good.
Busby.
They
Oh
said
my
Trump
gosh.
He
to
needs
get
to have
him.
a reality
He
show.
totally needs to have one. You need to send him here and do an interview with him.
I would love to interview that
Yeah.
attorney.
Jake, get on that.
I will.
Because
As we're
like
done.
brilliant
But
people.
you know what's cool
are
about
brilliant.
that?
What? Sorry.
Sorry, I'm a big talker. I'm from
I am
Iowa.
too. I love
just
it.
gab,
I
gab,
love
gab.
Iowa.
It's a
I live
podcast.
there.
You're supposed to.
So what's cool about it is it sucked for Paxton, but boy, did it show the people of Texas who's who,
Mm-hmm.
what's what. Because the people of Texas overwhelmingly voted for him, and to have
Yeah.
these Bush establishment guys try to impeach him because they couldn't win at the ballot
They can't
box.
win properly.
It really laid out who's who, and I think that everybody who was trying to impeach Paxton is going to be voted out of office.
I
think
hope
so,
next
too.
time around. Run.
I hope
out
they
of
don't
town.
replace him with crooks from the other side, though. That's another prayer, is that we have to say that, speaking of women, and particularly grandmothers, I'm always saying this, and granddads if they're capable. Most of them are too tired, if you notice. But the women, go in there and run for office
Yes.
if you are a decent person who feels that you have a duty to this country and to the Constitution, to protect the children who live here, that they all have a chance to have a decent education, not controlled by perverts in the teachers'
That's right.
union.
The teachers' union is probably the most dangerous union out there.
It is the enemy of American children.
They don't even like teachers, to be honest.
No, they hate good teachers.
They use teachers as political pawns, intentionally keep their salaries low.
Right.
Even though we're pouring more and more and more money into education, it's going to the administrators.
Right.
Teachers, they keep their salaries intentionally low so
Right.
that they can roll out every election cycle and say, we don't pay our teachers enough. I can't afford the stuff in the classroom, all that stuff. They hate the parents, and they don't like the kids.
No.
It's all about power, and I believe indoctrinating our children. It's pretty
Of
obvious
course.
right now.
They've got a whole agenda. You know, it's a communist takeover.
Would you homeschool your kids if...
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, my youngest is 28, and I did homeschool him. And boy, did we have a blast.
I
I'm so
bet.
pro homeschool. Well, because
I can't
I'm
even
rich.
imagine you as
Oh,
a homeschool teacher,
listen,
how fun that would have been.
we went
Ask
to
him.
Paris for art history. We got to fly to Paris and stay there for a week and go to the Louvre every day
Oh, my
for art
gosh.
history. You
That's
know, I mean, regular parents couldn't do that, but some parents could.
Yeah.
And I got to sit with the tutor, make sure they weren't a pervert.
How did you find the teachers?
It's a difficult search, but you know, always check references, parents. I just have to, mothers
Yes.
who do most of that.
Like
Really
call and check.
call, even meet, investigate, fully vet all references of people that are going to be around your
Yeah.
children.
So
And moms
true.
don't do that because you're so busy. You take another mom's word for it. But look what happens in this world.
Yeah. And,
You
you know,
have to
even
have-
even just a written reference, I mean, that could be obviously forged so easily.
Yeah, like
But
you
also,
used
if
to
you have a
forge your
bad gut
mom's
feeling, I
signature.
had a friend one time say, "I think I need to get a nanny cam because I just have a feeling." And I go,
Oh, that's a
I
given.
go, don't bother with the nanny cam. If you've got a gut feeling, change course.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
got a
that's
bad
smart.
gut feeling and you feel like you need a nanny cam,
I say you do need a nanny cam.
You do,
and you
but-
should advise the nanny that you will be filmed 24 hours a day. And if you have a problem with that, then you know, don't take the job. But that is
Yeah.
a requirement of this. That's what I did.
yeah.
I don't trust nobody around my kids. Not even myself, because I'd like to beat the hell out. No, I'm kidding.
I don't believe that. I'm seeing Jake here, and he looks relatively normal.
Relatively,
he seems
thank you.
very. I'm like, this
The
is cool because
psychological damage doesn't show.
you always wonder what would Roseanne Barr be like as a mom. Of course, we watched the Roseanne show, and I loved the character, and I think it was actually very close to who you are, right?
Was it, Jake?
Yeah, it was. You were, yeah. I mean, it was the network PG version, I would say. You know.
So it was a little crazier.
It should have been an HBO single camera series, is what I'm saying. Like The Sopranos.
Maybe you do the Roseanne Barr podcast, and then you do a reality show as well. where you
Well,
have
we're
the cameras
sort of
following you
weaving
around.
it in. Jake, of course, he's going to say something like that, but
No,
you know,
you were a
Jake
great
weighed
mom.
almost 10 pounds when he was born.
She does this every episode.
Oh my gosh,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
that's
So-
like twice as big as my kids.
Oh yeah, it
How
was
did that go?
terrible.
How
Oh,
was-
it was the worst thing I've ever
Was it a
ever
C-section?
lived through.
No.
No, I wish it had been, because I mean, you can just imagine.
I can.
I
That's-
hate to say it to the
To the
governor.
great Kari
I'm not
Lake.
going to say it because you're the governor.
We'll find a way
I'm
to.
gonna
You can find a
govern
way
myself,
to
huh?
clever. You can find a way to cleverly say it.
Well, I had to push really hard for
Okay.
2 solid hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he was my what? 4th child? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was used to childbirth,
Uh-huh.
but no, this was ungodly.
this was.
And when you push really hard, you know, like having a lot of people get constipation and
Yeah.
things can result that you need Prep H for.
Yeah, she got it now.
okay.
See,
I get what's going on.
they were
Believable.
unbelievable.
So it's so well. Childbirth is.
So Jake should never complain about anything that
That's
I've
why she's
done.
bringing it up, Carrie.
That's
It's like,
I
look what I
think
went
he
through.
should never. He should hold his tongue. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. 10 pounds is quite a feat. I will say this: the greatest. You know, when your first baby is born and you're pregnant, you're like following every day. Okay, oh, I'm going to grow a little bit, and you're like, you know, every second child, you're like, oh my gosh, it's due date already. But I loved birthing the children. Women always want to put their horror story out there, and I'm like, it is the greatest thing. But the one thing the books don't talk about is what happens after. You know, your body's kind of recovery from that. There aren't a lot of books written about that. It's kind of like a science project. and
It
a bit-
kind of is.
It's
Yeah.
a bit gory.
It is.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, none of the books quite mention what happens like in the days and weeks after, where your body's trying to come back together and heal while you're taking care of a baby, and you obviously couldn't even sit down.
No.
Probably you had to
No.
stand, and oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well,
But
I
it's
laid
totally
on my
worth
side.
it. If you're out there and you're pregnant, you're going to be great. You are this. I always tell this to women I see that are pregnant. I go, I'm so excited for you. I'm jealous. I love the act of birthing the child. It was just so beautiful. And
oh
you
my
only
God!
get that.
You're speaking like
You
an
only
alien
That's
from
smart.
another
I know.
planet.
I
No, it's better.
loved
It's smart.
every part of it.
Do you know
every single
when-
part of it? But you only get that experience as many babies as you have.
When
Yeah.
my wife was pregnant, her mom, she called her and she's like, I'm going in tomorrow. And her mother just started giggling like an evil giggle. And I was like, what's so funny? And she goes, because I know what you're about to go through. And she thought it was hilarious. So we were terrified when we got to the
Oh, and
hospital.
she tried to I hate it when people scare these
we were-
moms.
we were
Because,
terrified.
Well, sometimes what happens now with moms now, and the hospitals will intervene, like at the drop of a hat, do a C-section.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
sometimes I think they're rushing to that, and I think women are so nervous about it that they almost want that. And it's like,
Yeah, it's way
no,
better.
You are the single most capable person on the planet to push out that baby.
Yeah.
No, the C is way better.
I
I have to tell
disagree.
you, I forced him to give me a C-section with
Really?
my fifth boy because I referenced Jake and the roids.
The 10
I said,
pounds.
I cannot live through this again. If this kid's going to probably be even bigger. So
I just, for reference, Jake, my kids were like 10 pounds at 1 year.
Yeah, you're
oh
lucky.
my God,
So that's
really?
like pushing out a baby that's 1 year old. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were 11 pounds. They were little.
Oh my God.
Now they're normal size, but they were kind of little.
Oh, wow.
Thank
See?
God.
I mean, I have to say,
Jake.
I like your approach on childbirth, Carrie, though, because not to get all sappy, but, and I didn't obviously do much during, but it was a very spiritual experience for me and my wife, Hannah. Like, we weren't overly religious when we went in, but during the process of childbirth, we were communicating. We probably creeped our doctors out. I kept saying, like, God is here with us, and we connected on a level we never did. So next time we get pregnant, God willing, we're excited for it. We're probably going to do it at home. If we can.
Ah,
I
forget
would-
that.
I think we're going to.
Back to the C-section.
No, we're never doing
Back
a
to the
C-section.
hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids are better than a C-section.
No,
scar.
I think you're right.
It
I
was
really,
hard.
I believe that pregnancy is a miracle that God,
I do too.
a miracle from God that
Yeah,
He
it
lets
is.
you in on, and
I
it's
think
so
so,
cool.
too.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's like it is just the greatest thing ever, and I wish that more young people, not like too young, but
Yeah.
I wish more young women really looked at it that way and viewed it that way instead of
I
a
wish
burden.
more people would be so happy about it and have
It's-
your view of it, because so many people are unhappy with it and suffer through
Yeah.
it. But how great to have the viewpoint you have. That's good. One.
Well, coming from a family of 9, lots
Yeah.
of babies and grandkids around and all of that. And
What number are you
what do you think?
in the 9? I think you're number 7.
9.
I'm number 9. I'm the baby.
Oh, you're the baby
Yep.
of 9.
So thankfully, Mom was pro-life, but back then everybody was pro-life.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
So I came out and I looked at my competition where my 8 siblings.
Did they take good care of you, though?
They did.
I bet they did.
We had 8 girls, so I've got 7 sisters and 1 brother, and so it was like having many additional mothers.
Yeah, that would be
Jeez, that
cool.
sounds
It was really cool,
horrifying.
and a lot of great women to look up to, from being this little, and I used to dress up in their clothes and walk around with their high heels, and the fun things that you would do when you have older sisters. We have
That's
one
fun.
brother.
I was the oldest girl, so I was like basically the family slave.
Oh, my
In
God.
Jewish families, the oldest girl is the servant.
Go do that. Go get
Yeah.
that. Take care of the babies.
Put a chicken in the oven. Oh God, it never ended.
And you're 5 years old. How do I do that?
No, I knew.
Yeah,
You
no,
knew.
she knew. She
Yeah,
took
Well,
it.
don't you
I was
think
kind
kids
of a
were-
mom since I was 5.
Kids were just more competent back then because we had to help out.
Yeah. Well, we felt like we were a needed and important part of the family, which I think
You
most
were.
kids now, they don't feel that they're a part of a group effort.
Because there's a lot of helicopter parenting going on. I'll do that. You might mess it up. I'll do it. That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And so then they never learn even
or
the
they're not
basics.
home because they're working or other reasons. But
Yeah.
I don't feel that kids feel they're part of anything, and so that's why they're easily targeted and drafted in these crazy communities they've
Well,
got.
they're on their phone all the time. A
Yeah.
lot of them are, and not. I even think I failed in some ways at getting my kids involved and helping clean around the house. When I was a kid, I felt like the same way. It was like, I'm a laborer in the house. Did you only have me because you needed someone to clean the house?
right,
You know,
and
you'd
of
wonder-
course they did.
Yeah. Well, back then, you did have big families for that reason.
Right.
A farmer would have.
Oh yeah,
a bunch
you
of
were
kids.
you were born on a farm.
Not born on a farm. I was born in a barn. No.
I mean, but you grew up on a farm.
I grew up in rural Iowa. First 10 years of my life, we lived in the city, which
okay.
a city in Iowa is not normally that metropolitan. It's actually pretty small. And then when I was 10, my dad moved us out to the country. Like, the middle of nowhere.
Where?
You wouldn't never heard of it. Donahue, Iowa,
I haven't.
which is a town of like 240 people. And we lived about 10 miles outside of that town. So we lived like 10 miles outside of like the tiniest little town with the only thing it had in it was a little tiny grocery store and a Pepsi vending machine, which was like the highlight. Let's ride our bikes in. We'd ride our bikes 10 miles to go and
Wow.
get a Pepsi.
How much did it cost?
I think it was like, I want to say
nickel.
25 cents or 50 cents, something like that.
Wow.
It was coins. And we would guzzle a Pepsi, and then we would take one for the road and ride our bikes back home.
Awesome.
But you spent a lot of time in Iowa, right?
Yeah, I had a farm there, God, years ago, and I was going to build my dream house there, but it, kind of all crashed
It
down.
didn't work out.
But I lived there for about 3 years, and I loved it. I had a lot of acres and horses,
Oh,
so
my gosh.
I would saddle up my horse Buddy, and then I owned a cafe. So I would ride Buddy 2 miles to town, put him on, tie him up on the tree, and then go into my little cafe and cook for people who came to eat there. I
my
loved it. I made
gosh.
the best chili, the best desserts.
What town was this?
It was Eldon, Iowa.
A Tumblr.
Heard
And
of
then at the end of the day, of course, I'd make other people clean it. And then I go get
you
on
already
my
did
horse.
all that cleaning when you were 5.
And get on my horse and ride
Right out
back
of
to
town.
my house.
It's like John Wayne.
It was so fun.
Where is Eldon? What's it near?
It Fairfield.
I thought it was a Tumwa.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was by Ottumwa
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
So southeastern?
Between Ottumwa and Fairfield.
Okay.
I don't know directions. I'm lost
Okay.
with directions.
I grew up about probably an hour and a half from there.
What
but the
kind of
people are
work?
great. The people are so amazing.
nice.
Iowa nice. They have, people say, well, are Iowans ever mean? I go, not necessarily mean. I think the opposite of Iowa nice is Iowa passive aggressive. We do passive aggressive well. Like nobody can outdo it. If you have to be, rather than be mean, I sense there's a little more passive aggressive.
It's a
It
kind of a bless your heart
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, you never really outright mean, but you can find a way to irritate someone to death if you have to.
I fit
Hence
in really
me and
well
the way
there.
I treat the media.
I love it. It's my favorite.
I
thing.
fit in really well there because I thought we were very much alike with the women in Iowa that I met and the people. They were so cool.
Yeah.
I really liked living there, and I was sad to leave. But, onward and upward.
Right.
Then I went to Hawaii.
Well, that's
Now
not a bad
Texas.
place. I mean, I love Iowa, but Hawaii is a pretty great place as well.
Beautiful.
You've been all
Terrible
over.
things happening over there,
I know.
though,
It's so sad because you see that we have Americans who are suffering so much. That's what kills me. I walk by people, and I don't want to sound like strange right now, but my son goes, "You're an empath."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know
well,
what that meant, and because he'll say, "You won't believe I cut myself, and here's what happened," or like I hurt myself, and I go, "Ouch! Oh, don't tell me. I don't want to hear it because I actually feel whatever he's describing." But I also see that when I'm with people. I think
Yeah.
that's what made me a good journalist because I could feel people when they were struggling or had pain or joy, whatever the emotion was. But I find I'm in a lot of airports and I'm looking in people's faces. I try to look in their eyes, and we're just suffering right now. There's a lot of suffering.
Especially in Maui, Hawaii, they're suffering. And, I'm just always praying that aid does reach people and good things are happening. And I do hear that, from my intelligence sources, which are
Some good things?
other people who live there. Yeah, good things are happening, and I hope it's true. And
Good.
that goods and services are reaching the survivors.
Good, and I hope they can
the
keep their property.
Oh
The
no,
ones who
they're going to
survived,
keep.
but how
they're
many
going to
people?
keep their property. I swear. If
Some people
I
got
have to
wiped
come
out.
down there and kick some ass and run for governor of
Love to see
Hawaii,
that.
they're going to keep their property.
You should run for governor of
I
Hawaii
know,
because the
everybody tells
governor
me
there
that.
is.
Oh, they're all
Yeah.
all hooked up to the money machine.
Yep.
Which is our taxes.
We need some good America First governors is what we need. And that's why they had to stop us because they said, holy crap, this woman is going to do it. She's going to secure the border, tackle the chronic street homelessness. We got to secure the border. You can't, how do you tackle this chronic street homelessness, this drug abuse that's just plaguing our generation? If it's coming in, like
Endlessly.
And I'm sure you've seen the videos.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
You haven't. San Francisco,
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Oh
you name
yeah,
it,
we've
LA.
been up there.
Yeah.
Have you noticed there's a lot of young men there on the street?
It's all
These
men.
are working age young American men.
Yeah. It's mostly men. It's 96%.
And I think
A lot of
men.
veterans.
A lot of veterans. We walked
I just
down-
notice how many of them are African American. That makes my blood boil because the Democrats are always stoking about how racist we are.
Yeah.
And in fact, did call me a racist because I accurately named, the way it works.
Yeah.
That, a men's rights. Well, I'll go into that another time.
Well, I agree.
But, I
Our
mean,
men's-
it's-
I'm
we're in
really
a-
worried about our men. I'm a mother to a boy, and I'm not the only one. There's a lot of moms out there. I always say our girls are doing pretty good, although now they're kind of going after girls by trying to force them to compete with men in sports and things like that. But
Well, they're trying to destroy women's rights and women's safety.
Yeah.
That they're it's a full frontal attack on every level.
From every
Our
angle,
kids
yeah.
in schools. I mean, it's an attack, and it's also it's a humiliation routine. I think, and then when you watch the news, they kind of get off on. They're like
Yeah.
sneering that they got the American president.
Yeah.
Where the hell have you ever seen anything like that? Oh, we locked up the president of the United States. I mean, how shocking is that alone?
Yeah.
And then we're just supposed to swallow that like it doesn't mean anything?
Mm-hmm.
It's complete mind control, and it's not for the benefit of any American. And it makes me mad when they stoke all their racism crap, and then you go see how many of those homeless people are African American, and they're not, that's never being exposed. And how the biggest yank of all that they do to line their own pockets comes from inner cities where they think they have an endless supply of voters they don't
Yeah.
have to do one thing for. Not one thing. In fact, it's in the negative, like with the veterans. They're taking away from the people who vote for them. And I swear, Biden, his votes all come from people who are working for the government and just trying to get their retirement. Once they figure out the Dems have stole their retirement funds, they're going to be mad.
That's a very good point. I haven't thought of. The federal employees are
Yeah.
always vote for the Dems, but there's not much that's going to be left in the coffers.
It's all over
a
in the Ukraine.
Yeah, and we're spending money to the Ukraine to shore up their pensions, which is
That's right.
outrageous, and to secure their border.
Because that's where these guys are going to run when the hammer comes down the other way. They're going to become Ukrainian citizens.
That's going to be interesting if that happens. Huh? I think
I'm
we
Like
should
when the
telling you, I know
extradite
how.
them. You
Fled
think that-
Argentina? Like the Nazis in Argentina?
Yeah.
Fled, yeah.
I know how
Interesting.
the criminal mind works. I watch forensic files.
She's got it all figured out.
She does.
Well, I know this, that the really serious problems that we have are all solvable.
Hello. That's what I'm saying.
It's
yes.
just we have to get the right people
That's
in
right.
office, and then
That's
but
hard to
then
do.
but the great conundrum is, how do we do that when our election? That's why the elections and honest elections, restoring faith in our elections, is the most important issue. I know it's taboo. I know you can go into a school and talk to elementary kids about sex or anything like that, but you can't talk about election fraud.
Right.
We have to restore our elections. We have to root out the fraud, or we can't vote our way out of the mess we're in.
Yeah.
Hence 2020. Hence
the design.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Hence the nightmare that's playing out. If this isn't enough to wake Americans up and say, A, they know that the election was stolen, rigged, and we've got to restore honest elections.
I
Everywhere I
think how
go-
we do that, here's what I think. Everyone stops watching TV, and instead they have neighborhood get-together meetings where you actually
Love it.
discuss actual things with your neighbors about what are we going to do if our country shuts down. What will we do? I think that's advisable right now.
Are we
Stop
ready?
watching
Yeah.
the fear-making machine that's dividing. And actually get a plan with your neighbors. Oh, I think grandmothers could coordinate those meetings because every grandmother is responsible for about 100 people, I figured out.
That's
she could
great.
coordinate that in these grandmothers' councils, which we're going to have to do if we're going to stay alive and safe.
Just
I
like
think
a-
that's how bad it's going to get.
Safety meetings or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call them. Whatever you want to call them.
Neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch. I love it. and get together, have a plan.
Yeah.
Just in case. We don't know. I think there's going to be violence on
And
the streets.
you've got to
We've seen
have a
who's coming in.
garden. Tell me if I'm not right.
Yeah.
You
I
lived
don't
on a
have
farm.
a garden, though, right now.
Oh, my God, you lived on a farm. You've
I
got to
just-
start growing some vegetables.
I could in a few. I live kind of in a townhome, which I love.
So you can get garbage get those plastic garbage things, and you can grow tomatoes and lettuce and carrots in
Yeah.
there,
Right in your kitchen
right
window.
inside your
Yeah,
kitchen.
you can.
You've
Okay.
got to have food because that's
We
going
do.
to be
I will
the
tell
new
you
money.
some of the great things. If you have to look for a silver lining that have come out of the last very tumultuous, devastating years, are I think people are looking like, what if? What if
Yeah,
we can't
they
get out? What
should.
after the shutdowns and all of that? So we do keep more food on hand. We do have a plan for purifying water if we have to.
Good.
So we have thought about some of those things. These are things I would have never in a million years. You always used to hear about the preppers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
The
more
crazy
Americans are
preppers.
like, I guess we're kind of a little bit into prepping because we want to
We
make sure we
should
have
be.
everything ready.
Because things could get really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. If you would have said that 7 years ago, I would have said, okay, Roseanne's losing her mind. But now I go, yeah, things could get really bad. The summer of love with all of the protests, that could spill out even worse.
It could. And you should prepare yourself. And the thing is, they've got us so we can't see what's right in front of our face. That's what makes me so sad.
When we turn the news off, we take the power away from them.
Yes, we do.
And we
And then
bring
we
back the
start
power
getting
to
our
us.
own plan with each other. Living humans that communicate, not AI telling us what to do or what to think or feel or read or say or how to vote. But us talking to each other. Hey, how's it over in your neck of the woods? You don't have people trying to break in your house every 20 minutes, do you?
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I hope it's
Something,
Yeah.
some plan
to
of
where we at least know our
communicating,
neighbors, right? Because now a lot of
Yeah.
people don't even know who their neighbors are.
creating safe places.
That's a great
safe
idea.
spaces. And of course for kids, because that's who's mostly, harmed in all these kind of
I know.
crazy things. Like I'm thinking of the people in Lahaina, and they're at that level, having to organize life from the bottom up all over again.
Complete destruction, and then
Complete
how do you
destruction.
even, move through that and survive that?
Well, they know how, and help is coming and is there.
Good.
So
That's good to
just
hear.
pray for that too.
Pray
Those
for our
people.
country.
Pray
I
for
do
our
think
country.
that prayer goes a long way. Got to
Oh, I
follow
know.
it up with some action.
Yes.
People say, what's going to happen? And if Trump will get in there and everything's going to be fine, I go, yeah, I think that Trump will get in there and things will be much, much better quickly. But, or they'll say, I don't know, I think there's something going on behind the scenes and it's all going to work out. Maybe. But I don't want to rest on my laurels and go, well, somebody else is going to fix this.
No, we can't do
And that's
that.
why I'm every day. I want to make sure we have all of our cases out there right in front of a judge for
Right.
when the pressure builds and more information comes out, that judge finally says, you know what, I need to rule the right way on this.
That's exactly right.
It might be my case. It might be somebody else's. I don't know. Maybe it's just we win in a court of public opinion. Maybe the judges don't rule for us, but the public rules for us. And
I think that is what's happening.
80% of Republicans say the elections are fraudulent, 61% of independents, and it's up to 40% of Democrats who say this is rigged.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see a shift, and they can't continue to push this long.
No.
Something's got to give. The dam will burst.
Yeah. I think, people are seeing it very clearly. And I think that you and I talking today has helped to make it even more clear. I love having this conversation with you.
Likewise.
And it was just wonderful to have you in my home and to know a little bit more about you. You're
Thank
a
you.
wonderful woman, and I love that you're willing to serve the American people, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Roseanne. I'm honored to be in your home. The greatest gift is when you're invited into someone's home. And so I love that you're doing this podcast in your home. And I still am pinching myself that I'm sitting across the sofa.
From me?
From Jake.
Oh, yeah.
From the 10-pounder?
From the 10-pounder. He's
It's more-
normal right now. You're
It's
normal
more-
size, right?
No, I'm not. I'm
And-
220-pounder now.
And
sadly.
sitting across from really an idol, because you have withstood a lot. You were being canceled before cancellation had a name.
I know.
And to persevere through all that has been a real great thing to
Well,
watch.
God put you where you're supposed to go, I guess. I feel like He took me out of Egypt and brought me to the promised land of
Wow.
free, creative freedom, pure creative freedom.
Yeah.
That's how I feel here.
Sometimes when you've been completely canceled, it's like nothing else to lose. I don't have to worry about trying to please everybody.
Yeah,
I've been
it
canceled
was
by
like
them.
that, yeah.
It's the greatest thing ever. You kind of
Yeah.
walk through your fear, and
Yeah.
on the other side, you are unafraid. Which is why
Oh,
we named
yeah,
it.
right.
That's
Yeah,
why we named
hold
it
that
that.
up
No, you
for
don't
the
have to pick it up.
No,
I just
but
said
that was a good cue.
Yeah, hold it close to the mic so I can see.
It's,
should I-
I got to
Look
tell
Look
you.
at unafraid. That's
higher.
that's what I admire about you is, but it's like courageous, and yet it's like it's so mom-based courage. I just love that.
I think it's inner strength that comes from just kind of a knowing that God's got your back, you know. But
And mine is autographed. Ha 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 ha. I love it. And you are so gorgeous. Were you always gorgeous?
no, not really. Well, thank you for saying that. I don't, makeup helps a lot and some lighting and all of that. But, I think just all those years, I had a lot of older sisters, so I would put their makeup on and things like that. And I worked in television for a long time. And so I know how to kind of pull it together, but I can look rough a little bit as well. Trust me, in the
Well-
mornings, you don't wake up looking like that.
That, I think, looks like perhaps the first woman president of the United States.
Oh
I
my
would be all
gosh.
for
You,
that.
Jake?
I'm Team Kari. Yeah, I would be there.
All right, slow down, Roseanne.
All right. No, but
All
I
right.
had to say it because I say it all the time to my family.
Can I ask one quick question? What is your plans? You're gonna keep with the lawsuit, or you think I saw you floating a Senate run at one time?
I haven't made any, it's not really a secret. I am really seriously considering a run for U.S. Senate.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
I mean,
I've watched.
listen, we won the election for governor. The people voted for a change in Arizona, for strong leadership that was going to actually solve the problems. And because that was stolen, that doesn't mean we just go, okay, now we have to roll things up and leave.
No.
I want to serve the people of Arizona. They want me to serve them, and we need some leadership in D.C. because the people we have back there are just absolute buffoons. So I'm considering it. I'll probably make a decision in a couple months or month or so.
Do you
Let us
think you
know.
can serve better as a senator or as a governor?
I mean, I ran for governor because I felt that we could make some really big, good change in Arizona for the better. But hey, look, they rigged the election and stole it from us, and they were hoping that we and our movement would go away. And I've got a lot of mama bears out there saying, "We run, stay in it.
Yeah.
Don't let them win by stealing our movement."
Definitely not.
And so I think we have to stay in it. We have too powerful of a movement. We have a chance to pick up a Senate seat right now.
That's great.
And
So
take
that's
it.
like more, that's a big deal.
Well, you could run for
It's a
governor.
big deal
again,
because I
too.
could, if I decide to do it, I will be able to go to D.C. and help President Trump implement his amazing policies, which are incredibly transformative, I believe.
They are amazing policies.
Right.
Nobody
You
ever
go to-
talks about them.
I try to talk about him all the time. Agenda 47, he's talking about him, laying it out. You go to these other guys that are running against him, their web page, all you see is a donate button.
Yeah.
Maybe one line on whatever policy. He's got detailed policy.
Yeah.
And
And
we
they're
need to
all
get
good.
somebody.
And a
I
proven
get
track
so
record.
frustrated when we watch these people in D.C. They're so-called Republicans, and they were working against Trump.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, they
And
cheated
so-
too.
Well, it's not even. I think it's the uniparty. It's
It is
globalism
the uniparty.
versus
It
Americanism.
is globalism versus American.
Or Marxism versus Americanism.
Yeah.
And I'm on the American side,
Me too.
pro-America.
Thank you for being here, and see you next time.
Oh, you see.